pattern that you can't ignore. Black women disappearing beneath the waves only to be rediscovered days, weeks at a time later. Recently, we're talking about Christina and Rebecca Walters in addition to Jane Adetoro, all sisters, according to the police, on the 13th of May 2026, found dead. And they have not said that there was any third-party involvement or violence involved, but because of a pattern that is quite key to the discernment of black communities, they feel like the police have not engaged with what has been seen to them as a bit of a pattern. For example, you could talk about Blessing Olusegun. You could talk about Kion Williams. You could talk about Taiwo Balogun, all black women who were found days later at times or weeks later at times after having drowned in bodies of water. And what is often critiqued is the lack of an ability for the police and the media to seemingly get these stories out there into the public domain to help people search for the family members who have been such core parts of their lives. After all, if we were in the fights of our lives, we'd hope that people wouldn't just stand beside, but they'd also get involved. And many people don't have faith necessarily in the police to help in these investigations because they are aware of things like the Casey report. They're aware of the institutional failures around racism and discrimination, misogyny embedded in some of these police forces and kept close to the hearts of some of the individual police officers. But that's not to say that there are not many other police officers who are going to do good work in helping to get to the bottom of this.
3 sisters were found dead in the sea before sunrise. And the part people cannot move past is not only that all 3 died together, it is that the public still has no full explanation for how they got there. Jane Adetoro was 36. Christina Walters was 32. Rebecca Walters was 31. They were sisters from Uxbridge, West London. They ended up in Brighton. Emergency services were called near Madeira Drive and Black Rock at around 5:45 in the morning. At first it was a report of someone in the water. Then the truth became worse. 1 woman became 3. 1 emergency became a family tragedy. And once their names were released, the public began asking the same thing again and again. How do 3 adult sisters end up dead in the sea on the same morning, at the same beach, before sunrise? Police say there is no evidence of criminality or third-party involvement so far, but they also say inquiries are ongoing. They are reviewing CCTV. They are speaking with nearby businesses. They are asking witnesses to come forward. And they want to know who saw the sisters near Madeira Drive between 10 at night and 5:30 in the morning. That missing window matters, because right now, the public has the ending. 3 sisters found in the water, but not the full path, not the full timeline, not the final movements, not the reason they were there. Not what the cameras show, not what the post-mortem findings show, and not whether the sea explains everything. Then came the detail that made the case feel even more haunting. Their mother, Janice Adetoro, also died by drowning years earlier. Now people are asking whether that was only a tragic echo, or whether it says something about why the sisters went near water that night. Before we go further, like this video and subscribe to True Crime Greyson. This case needs pressure. But it also needs facts, because Jane, Christina, and Rebecca were real women, and their family has already asked the public to stop turning their pain into reckless rumors. The strongest question right now is not whether people online feel suspicious. The strongest question is what the evidence shows. What does CCTV show? What did the post-mortem show? Was water found in their lungs? Were there any injuries? Were they alive when they entered the water? Were they fully clothed? Did 1 sister get into danger first? Did the other 2 try to save her? Why did the family use an AI image at first? Why were there not clear recent public photos of the 3 sisters together? Why have so few people outside the family spoken publicly about them? And will the inquest give the family answers strong enough to quiet the rumors? Those questions should be asked early, because most viewers will not wait until the end. So let's deal with the key issues now. First, the police position. Sussex police say there is no evidence at this stage of criminality or third-party involvement. That means they have not found proof that another person caused their deaths. That is the official position right now. But that does not mean every question has been answered. It does not explain why the sisters were in Brighton. It does not explain how all three entered the sea. It does not explain the full CCTV timeline. It does not explain the post-mortem findings. It does not answer the public question about water in their lungs. It does not answer whether the clothing detail matters. It does not explain whether their mother's drowning had any connection to why they were near water. So when the public hears no foul play so far, many people are not satisfied. Not because they know something police do not, but because the official statement feels too small for the size of the mystery. 3 sisters, 1 beach, 1 morning. No full public timeline. That is why the questions keep growing. Second, the CCTV. This case may turn on cameras. If CCTV shows the sisters walking alone toward the water, calm and together, that supports one direction. If CCTV shows them with someone else, that changes the direction. If CCTV shows one sister moving ahead while the others follow, that matters. If CCTV shows them distressed, that matters. If CCTV shows them arriving near the beach close to the emergency call, that matters. If CCTV shows they were in Brighton for hours before the emergency, that matters too. Police have asked for witnesses between 10 p.m. and 5:30 a.m. That is 7.5 hours. A long gap. A gap big enough for movement. A gap big enough for a meeting. A gap big enough for a walk. A gap big enough for something ordinary or something troubling to happen before they reach the water. A shop camera may hold a piece of the story. A taxi driver may remember them. A hotel worker may have seen them. A bus camera may show them. A train station camera may show when they arrived. A car dash cam may capture them near Madeira Drive. A business near the seafront may have footage no one has studied closely enough yet. A single frame could matter. Because right now, the public is being asked to accept that 3 sisters somehow reached the sea and died together. But the public wants to see the path. Where did they go? Who saw them? Were they alone? Were they walking with purpose? Were they confused? Were they upset? Were they near the water by choice? Or did one wrong step begin a chain reaction no one could stop? Third, the post-mortem question. A viewer asked something important. Was water found in their lungs? That is not a random question. It goes straight to the heart of whether they drowned in the water, or whether something happened before they entered it. In a case like this, the post-mortem can matter deeply. It can help show whether drowning was the cause. It can show whether there were injuries. It can show whether those injuries fit an accident. It can show whether anything looks inconsistent. It can show whether the body's condition supports the police direction. It can show whether the sea was the cause, or only the place where the sisters were found. Right now, the full post-mortem details have not been publicly explained in a way that answers all those questions. That is why the inquest matters. The inquest may begin to answer what the public cannot answer today. Were they alive when they entered the sea? Were there signs of drowning? Were there signs of injury? Were toxicology tests done? Was there anything in the medical findings that made police confident there was no third-party involvement? Was there anything that remains unclear? Those answers matter, because a short police statement cannot replace medical evidence. If the post-mortem supports accident, the family deserves to understand how. If it raises more questions, those questions should not be ignored. Fourth, the AI image. This has become one of the strangest public talking points. At first, many people saw what looked like an AI-generated image of the 3 sisters. Then questions exploded. Why was an AI picture used? Why were the early images not recent real photos? Why did reporters use that image? Why did the image later change? How could 3 women in their 30s not have a clear recent group photo? Why were there not public posts from friends, co-workers, partners, or husbands? Why did the sisters seem to appear in the news through a generated image instead of normal photos? Those questions are understandable, but they must be handled carefully. Recent reporting says the family used AI because they did not have a recent group photograph of all 3 sisters together. That explanation may sound strange to some viewers, but it is not proof of anything criminal. Not every family has a recent photo of adult siblings together. Not everyone lives online. Not everyone posts publicly. Some people have private accounts. Some people avoid social media. Some families use old photos. Some families protect recent pictures from strangers. And sometimes, after sudden death, relatives choose an image that feels respectful, even if the internet does not understand it. Still, the public reaction tells us something. People are not only suspicious of the picture, they are suspicious of the silence around the picture. They want to know why there are not more visible tributes. They want to know where the friends are, where the coworkers are, where the partners are, where the community is, where the recent pictures are, where the people who saw these women alive are. That is why the AI photo has not gone away. It became a symbol for a bigger concern. The public feels like too much of the sisters' recent lives is missing from view. But missing from public view does not mean missing from real life. A person can have a full life without leaving it open to strangers. A woman can be loved without having public posts. A family can be real without Instagram proof. The AI image is not evidence of foul play, but it is evidence of a public trust problem. People do not feel they have been shown enough, and when people do not feel shown enough, they start filling the gaps themselves. That is where the danger begins. Because one unanswered question becomes 2, 2 becomes 10, and soon people are not asking for CCTV anymore. They are accusing relatives. They are accusing police. They are accusing strangers. They are turning grief into suspicion. The family has already said this is causing harm. That should matter. Ask about the AI image. Ask why it was used. Ask whether more recent photos exist. Ask whether friends or co-workers will speak. But do not turn a grieving family into suspects without evidence. The real mystery is not the photo. The real mystery is the 7.5-hour timeline. Fifth, the beach itself. Brighton is not just a pretty seaside background in this case. The beach may be part of the explanation. Brighton's shore is a shingle beach, small stones, uneven ground, a slope that can change quickly near the water. In daylight, people can still misjudge it. At night, the danger grows. The water may look shallow until it is not. A person may step close and lose balance. The stones may shift. A wave may hit. Cold water may shock the body. Wet clothing may become heavy. A person may panic. And if one person goes in first, a loved one may rush in to help. That is the most logical accident theory. One sister gets into trouble. The second tries to help. The third tries to help both. It is terrible. It is heartbreaking. But it is possible. Because rescue attempts can turn deadly. A person in panic can pull down the person trying to save them. Cold water can drain strength quickly. Heavy clothing can make escape harder. Shifting stones can make it difficult to climb out. And in darkness, even a few seconds can become the difference between rescue and tragedy. That explanation is logical, but it still needs evidence. Did one sister enter first? Did CCTV show that? Did the recovery locations support that? Did the tide support that? Did witnesses hear cries for help? Were belongings found near the point of entry? Did their clothing show they were not planning to swim? Did the post-mortem support drowning? Were there any signs that they tried to get out? This is why people should not accept the accident theory blindly, but they should not reject it blindly either. The sea can kill without warning. A rescue attempt can become a chain tragedy, and sisters close enough to live through years of family grief together may have been close enough to risk everything for one another. That is what makes the accident theory so painful. It does not reduce their bond. It may depend on it. But again, it remains a theory until the evidence shows the path. Sixth, the public concern about black women and water deaths. This part is sensitive, but it cannot be ignored. Many viewers are saying this case reminds them of other stories where black women were found dead near water, and families felt answers came too quickly or did not feel complete. Some people have mentioned Blessing Olusegun, a young black woman found dead on an East Sussex beach in 2020. Her family and supporters questioned whether her death received enough scrutiny. An inquest later reached its own findings, but the public concern around that case did not vanish. Some have also mentioned Biba Henry and Nicole Smallman, two sisters murdered in London, not in water, but remembered because of how badly their dignity was treated after death, when two police officers took and shared inappropriate photos from the scene. That case damaged trust. It made many people ask whether black women and their families are always treated with the same care and respect. So when Jane, Christina, and Rebecca were found dead in the sea, some people did not hear the police statement as reassurance. They heard a familiar pattern, another tragedy, another family waiting, another official line, another community asking whether every possible angle is being explored. This fear is real, but it must be used carefully. It is fair to demand that black women's deaths receive full attention. It is fair to demand transparency. It is fair to question whether families are given enough information. It is fair to ask why conclusions can feel too fast. But it is not fair to claim a cover-up without proof. It is not fair to accuse officers of taking money without evidence. It is not fair to accuse relatives based on grief statements. It is not fair to decide the case before the inquest. The strongest demand is simple. Do the work. Show the work. Trace the timeline. Release what can be released. Explain the post-mortem. Explain the CCTV. Explain the accident theory. Explain why no third-party involvement is suspected. And give the family enough answers to understand what happened. That is not misinformation. That is accountability. Seventh, the family's grief. This case is not only a mystery. It is a family collapse. Jane, Christina, and Rebecca were not headlines before May 13th. They were daughters, sisters, relatives, women with private lives. Their father, Joseph, called them his joy and strength. He spoke of losing all three in the prime of their lives. A fundraiser was created to help the family prepare for 3 funerals. Think about that. 3 funerals. 1 family. 1 father. 1 tragedy that reopened an old wound, because years earlier, their mother also drowned. No family should have to bury 3 daughters at once. No father should have to speak about all 3 in the past tense. No relatives should have to watch strangers accuse them while they are still planning burials. That is why the family's plea matters. They have asked for compassion. They have asked people to stop spreading harmful conspiracy theories. They are not saying no one should ask questions. They are saying the questions should not become cruelty. There is a difference. Ask what CCTV shows. Do not attack the father. Ask what the post-mortem shows. Do not twist the stepmother's words into guilt. Ask why an AI image was used. Do not act as if no real family exists. Ask why the sisters were in Brighton. Do not accuse people without evidence. That line matters, because if the public truly wants justice for Jane, Christina, and Rebecca, then their family's pain cannot become collateral damage. Now, the mother's earlier drowning. This is the detail that makes people stop. Janice Adetoro drowned years earlier. Reports say the sisters never fully recovered from that loss. A mother dies by drowning. Years later, 3 daughters die in the sea. It feels too heavy, too strange, too painful. But painful does not mean criminal, and strange does not mean connected. The mother's drowning could be a tragic echo. It could be part of the sisters' emotional history. It could help explain why water carried deep meaning in their lives. It could have nothing to do with why they were in Brighton, or it could be part of a private reason only the family knew. That is why the question should be asked carefully. Was their mother's earlier drowning connected to why they went there? Were they marking a memory? Were they dealing with grief? Was there an anniversary? Did they discuss their mother before the trip? Did their phones show anything? Did family members know of any connection? Or was it simply one of the cruelest coincidences imaginable? That is the right way to ask. Not as proof, as a question. The mother's death should not be used to create a conspiracy. It should be used to understand the emotional weight this family carried. Because if the sisters were still affected by that loss, their final trip may not be as random as it first appears. But only evidence can say that. The inquest may help. The inquest can examine who died, when, where, and how. It can hear medical evidence. It can review police evidence. It can include post-mortem findings. It can help clarify whether drowning was the cause of death. It can address whether any injuries were found. It can examine sea conditions. It can discuss CCTV and final movements. It may answer some of the questions that police statements have not answered publicly, but an inquest may not answer everything. It may explain how the sisters died. It may not explain why they went to Brighton. It may explain whether drowning occurred. It may not explain what they were thinking. It may say there was no evidence of criminality. It may not erase public doubt if people feel the timeline remains thin. That is why the inquest needs to be as clear as possible. The family needs clarity. The public needs clarity. The community needs clarity. And the sisters deserve a record stronger than rumor. Right now, the unanswered questions are still the center of the case. What does CCTV show? What did the post-mortem show? Was water found in their lungs? Were there any injuries? Were they fully clothed? Did one sister enter the water first? Did the others try to help? What were the sea conditions? Where were their belongings? Where were their phones? Did they send messages before the incident? Who last spoke to them? How did they travel from London to Brighton? Did they tell anyone where they were going? Why was an AI image needed? Why are recent public photos so limited? Why have so few friends, co-workers, or partners spoken publicly? Was the mother's earlier drowning linked to why they went near water? Or was it only a tragic echo? Will the inquest give enough answers? These questions are strong because they are specific. They do not accuse. They demand evidence. That is where this story should stay. Now look at what would satisfy public doubt. If police can show CCTV of the sisters traveling alone, walking toward the seafront, and approaching the water without anyone else near them, that would answer part of the public concern. If the post-mortem confirms drowning with no suspicious injuries, that would answer another part. If sea condition experts explain how one fall could lead to 3 deaths, that would answer another. If phone records show no sign of a meeting or threat, that would answer another. If family or friends confirm a private reason for the trip, that would answer another. If all those pieces align, the accident theory becomes stronger. But if the CCTV has gaps, if the post-mortem is unclear, if no one can explain why they were there, if the clothing question remains unanswered, if the route from London is not clear, then public doubt will continue. That is not because people want drama. It is because people need logic. 3 sisters do not fall into a story from nowhere. There must be a chain. The public wants the chain, and the family deserves it. The strongest new angle is this. The case is no longer only about the discovery in the sea. It is about whether the official process can answer the public's core questions before the internet answers them with rumors. That is the danger. If authorities do not explain enough, people will create their own explanations. If the family does not release photos, people will question the photos. If the post-mortem is not explained, people will guess about the lungs. If the CCTV is not described, people will imagine what it shows. If the mother's drowning is not placed in context, people will turn it into a theory. Silence does not stop speculation. It feeds it. Transparency is the only way to lower the noise. And transparency does not mean releasing every private detail. It means explaining enough to show that the investigation has followed the evidence. That is what people are asking for. Not gossip, not blame. A record, a timeline, a medical finding, a CCTV summary, a witness appeal that leads somewhere, an inquest that makes sense. At this point in the story, like this video, and subscribe to True Crime Greyson if you want updates that follow evidence instead of rumor. This case has enough pain already. The only way to honor Jane, Christina, and Rebecca is to keep the questions sharp, fair, and focused. Now, let's return to the night itself. Between 10 p.m. and 5:30 a.m., something happened that brought three sisters from a London family to the Brighton seafront. Maybe they arrived earlier and walked for hours. Maybe they arrived close to dawn. Maybe they had a private reason. Maybe they wanted to be near the sea. Maybe they were carrying grief. Maybe they planned nothing and made a sudden choice. Maybe one sister moved toward the water and the others followed. Maybe none of them understood how dangerous the beach could be. The public does not know, but the timeline exists somewhere. On cameras, in phone data, in transport records, in witness memories, in tide charts, in post-mortem findings, in police notes, in the inquest file. And the public is waiting for that timeline to become visible. The AI photo question will likely continue until more is known. People will keep asking why a generated image was used. They will keep asking why the sisters seemed so private. They will keep asking why more friends have not spoken. But the fair answer remains the same. The family has explained the photo issue as a lack of recent group images. The sisters reportedly lived quiet lives. Not everyone has public social media. Not every friend wants to speak to the press. Not every coworker wants to become part of a viral case. Not every private life is suspicious. Still, the question became big because it touches the bigger feeling that the story has missing pieces. That is what people are reacting to. Not just the image, the incompleteness. A generated image appeared where people expected real public photos. A police statement appeared where people expected a fuller timeline. An accident theory appeared where people expected a detailed reconstruction. A family history of drowning appeared where people expected a random tragedy. Each piece alone may have an explanation. Together they create unease. That unease does not prove crime. It proves the need for clarity. The police report has not satisfied everyone because it tells people what has not been found, not what happened. No evidence of criminality. No evidence of third-party involvement. Those are important, but they are negative findings. They say what police do not see. The public wants the positive story. What did happen? That is the missing part. Did one sister slip? Did the others try to help? Where exactly did they enter? What did CCTV show? What did medical evidence show? How did they get there? Why did they go there? That is the difference between ruling things out and explaining things. This case needs both. Ruling out foul play is not enough for public understanding. Explaining the event is what brings closure. And if the event cannot yet be explained, then the public should be told what remains unknown. That would help. Because uncertainty stated honestly is better than certainty that feels thin. Now the question about black women drowning near beaches. This is where many viewers feel emotionally pulled in. They are not only reacting to Jane, Christina, and Rebecca. They are reacting to a wider fear. A fear that black women can go missing, be found near water, and have their cases explained too quickly. A fear that families have to fight harder. A fear that cultural context is not always understood. A fear that if a woman is quiet, private, or not heavily online, the public may not fight for her. That fear exists, and it deserves space. But the solution is not to invent facts. The solution is to demand thorough investigation. If there is a wider concern, then every case needs careful documentation. Every family deserves access to clear findings. Every post-mortem should be explained. Every witness appeal should be publicized. Every CCTV route should be checked. Every assumption should be tested. Every woman should be treated as someone whose life mattered. That is the point. Not every water death is a crime, but every unexplained water death deserves a full explanation, especially when the family and community have questions. That is the responsible message. Three sisters gone before sunrise is not ordinary. It may still be accidental, but accidental does not mean simple. An accident can still require deep investigation. An accident can still reveal safety failures. An accident can still expose dangerous beach conditions. An accident can still show that warning signs are needed. An accident can still leave a family devastated and confused. An accident can still deserve a full public record. So even if the final finding is tragic accident, the questions still mattered. They mattered because they forced attention. They mattered because they kept the sisters' names visible. They mattered because they pushed for CCTV review, post-mortem clarity, and witness response. Questions are not the enemy. False accusations are. The difference matters. The final unanswered point is the mother. Janice Adetoro's drowning years earlier will remain part of this story because the public cannot separate it emotionally. A mother found in water. 3 daughters later found in water. A family marked by the same element twice. It is heartbreaking. But the inquest may need to answer whether that history played any role in the sisters' final movements. Did they go to Brighton for reflection? Did they go to be near water because of unresolved grief? Did they go for reasons unrelated to their mother? Did the mother's death only become important after the sisters died? The public should not force an answer. But the question should not be ignored either. Because if grief shaped their final journey, that matters. If it did not, that matters too. Either way, the family deserves answers rooted in evidence, not online imagination. This is where the story stands now. Jane, Christina, and Rebecca were found in the sea off Brighton. Police say no evidence currently points to criminality or third-party involvement. The investigation remains active. CCTV has been reviewed, and witness appeals continue. The public still wants the full timeline between 10 p.m. and 5:30 a.m. The AI image issue has raised questions, but has a family explanation. The post-mortem details are not fully public. The inquest may provide clarity. The mother's earlier drowning has deepened the emotional weight. The family is grieving and has asked people to stop harmful speculation. Those are the facts, and those facts are enough to keep this case important. Not because we know something dark happened, but because we do not yet know enough to understand how 3 sisters died together. That is the honest truth. The unanswered questions remain. What does CCTV show? What do the post-mortem findings show? Was water found in their lungs? Were there signs of injury? Were they fully clothed? Did the sea conditions explain it? Did one sister fall first? Did the others die trying to save her? Why did they travel from London to Brighton? Who last spoke to them? Why were there limited recent public photos? Was the AI image only a family's attempt to honor them together? Was their mother's drowning connected to why they went near water? Or was it only a tragic echo? Will the inquest finally give their family the answers they need? Jane Adetoro, Christina Walters, Rebecca Walters, 3 sisters, 1 night, 1 beach. 1 family living with questions no family should ever have to ask. If you have followed this case from the beginning, share your thoughts below. Which unanswered question matters most to you? The CCTV, the post-mortem findings, the AI image, the 7-hour gap, or their mother's earlier drowning? Like this video and subscribe to True Crime Greyson for more fact-based updates as the Brighton sisters case moves toward the inquest and the search for answers continues.